Hi everyone, I'm the Idea Maker, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. And today I'm going to be giving my official non-spoiler review for Captain America: Brave New World. Now, last night I went to go see this with friends. Should not have been driving in the rain, but we needed the rain over here in Southern California. But it was an interesting time, especially because that I was not expecting on having to drive at night right after work. But it was totally worth it because my friends and I, we went to go see this in 40x 3D. This is my first Marvel movie seeing it in 40x 3D. And let me just say, for the record, I was already knowing I was going to enjoy this movie despite the critics on what they were going to say. And, you know, at this point, I really don't care if critics are at a 51 to 53% in Rotten Tomatoes. You know, this movie absolutely was a blast. It was such a fun experience. And when watching it in 4DX, I honestly got to say, it elevated the experience a lot more. Now, is this movie a perfect movie? I wouldn't say that it's perfect, but I'm leaning it more towards perfect. But then again, I'm kind of a biased opinion in some degree because of a couple of things. First of all, this movie has more sentimental value to me because this was going to be a movie that I was going to watch with my grandmother, but unfortunately she passed away back in August of 2024. So I couldn't get to watch it with her. So that was one thing that I couldn't get to do. So I watched this more for her. For her sake, I watched this more for her. Two, she wanted to see Sam take the Captain America mantle after watching Falcon and Winter Soldier. She thought he was going to be an excellent Captain America. And honestly, with this one, I could definitely agree. I see where he is Captain America. I believe it a lot more than I did back in Falcon the Winter Soldier, because that was just a starting point. He was already having the qualities of being Captain America, but I feel like this movie proves it even more that Steve did the right call on having for Sam to become the next Captain America, especially because that's what it's like in the comics. And I think realistically, I think that it goes by the following of the saying from Captain America: The First Avenger, where Dr. Erskine, he's talking to he's talking to Steve, and he says, "I didn't pick the perfect soldier. I picked a good man." Right. And you know what? You know, or something like, "I didn't pick a perfect man. I picked a good man." And you know, and the thing is that I feel like with Sam, he's not perfect. You know, that he never will be. But honestly, I feel like he's a good man. He's a good man, that he has heart. He's a counselor. He was a rescue man, and you know, he wants to save as many lives as possible. He wants to be able to improve other people's lives in some way and save people, whether if it's through some sort of therapy or whether it's actually physically saving them from any line of danger. And you know, Anthony Mackie, to me, when I first saw him as Falcon, I automatically knew I was going to like him, and I thought, you know, he's going to be a big help on the next step of the Avengers if they have to move on from the original six. And now that more than likely he's going to be leading the new Avengers team, to lead up to Doomsday, I personally feel like he has every quality to be their next leader. And I honestly want for him to be the main leader of the Avengers. Now, I mean, I want Spider-Man to be part of the Avengers. I want Shuri. I want, a lot of heroes, like, Thor, the Hulk, Hawkeye. Hopefully we can even get some new ones like Shang-Chi. Hopefully he can be an Avenger in this one. You know, there's a lot of characters that I personally feel that could be a part of the Avengers team, especially because I know people right now, they're thinking, it's kind of all over the place at this point. What are we going to do? Because we don't really have an Avengers team. Yeah, you're right. We don't have an Avengers team. You know, Ross wanted for Sam to make an Avengers team until everything started the way that it did. Of course, I mean, it's not really much of a spoiler because, again, that was already discussed in the trailers. And I think realistically in this movie, I think that this was a good conflict. Sure, it does reflect a lot of what's going on in our society politically and in social instances, which I'm not gonna get into politics. I really don't want to, but it did reflect a lot of what we've seen so far lately in politics, and it's kind of scary. Actually, it is scary to think on how similar it is, and I really feel like maybe that's why people did not like it, or maybe that's why critics didn't like it because it was kind of political. In a weird way, it was political, but the thing was is that Captain America has always been a politically driven character when it comes to dealing with certain issues. With the first Avenger, it was during World War II and having to stop Hydra and the Nazis from having to win World War II. In the Winter Soldier, you had the ideas of Hydra also working within Shield, like a domestic terrorist movement, and like we've seen that upsettingly in our recent history, which is crazy to see. And then with Civil War, we had the downfall of the Avengers because of the fact that there's the Sokovia Accords, that it was to put the Avengers being monitored, and with Iron Man thinking that it's a good idea for the Avengers to be monitored, but Steve having the mentality of if the Avengers are monitored, what is going to happen if the U.S. government, they go and they decide when the Avengers could be able to step in and help people, and sometimes it might not even be they might even do it at the wrong point where it's too late for anybody to get saved, and that's where the whole conflict comes in. With this one, it's more of the fact that, from what I've got out of it, was the fact that we had seen Ross go through a whole lot of stuff now that he's the president of the United States. I mean, he was a general, he was a Secretary of State, and then he became president of the United States. And, he has some skeletons in his closet still. And that it comes to the point that those things are going to catch up to him. And they literally do. I mean, we saw it in the trailer of him turning into Red Hulk, which honestly was one of the best moments of this movie. The Red Hulk fight scene, I absolutely loved. And in 4DX, it enhanced the experience like I would have never thought to feel in a 4DX movie. And I personally loved it. And also just because of the fact that, again, I'm a Harrison Ford fan. I feel like Harrison Ford is my all-time favorite actor. And, nobody's going to change that idea from me. And with the way how it was, in Captain America Brave New World about this upcoming war of the countries fighting over adamantium. I mean, that's pretty scary, of the fact that, we're living in a time like that. We're fighting over the, other different conflicts that are going on, that it's going to affect different countries. Whether if it's between the U.S. and our allies, or the U.S. and other countries, it's a scary thing. I'm not gonna lie. But to divert away from the politics of it all, I do want to give special shout outs to Anthony Mackie and of course Harrison Ford for knocking it out of the park. Especially with Harrison Ford, he had some big shoes to fill because of William Hurt playing Thunderbolt Ross from The Incredible Hulk, from Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and with Black Widow. I feel like that Harrison Ford really stepped it up. I really feel like Harrison Ford stepped up to the ball game, and he did the impossible in bringing this version of Ross to life in a way that he made it his own, and that he did it in a respectable manner, that he brought in the events from The Incredible Hulk, that they actually mentioned them in this movie. I mean, we already knew that they already mentioned it, but the fact that they had some really great scenes together. These two had some great chemistry as antagonizing forces and working together. I mean, we already kind of had the idea of them working together anyways. It's nothing new in the it's nothing new because we've seen it in the trailers. I honestly found this movie to be fun. I found it to be a thrill ride, and I like the fact that this was like, it felt like an old-fashioned political thriller, but just dived into the Marvel universe. And I think, this isn't a paid review or a paid opinion. This is personally just all me. But I absolutely loved this cast. This cast really knocked it out of the park for me. And I feel like Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford being these two butting heads that they just went together, and they had some really solid scenes that I was very impressed with. And the fact that they were backed up with some really great actors. I mean, we had Danny Ramirez as Joaquin Torres. We had Tim Blake Nelson coming back as Samuel Stearns, aka the leader. We had Shira Haas in this one, as well as what was her name? I forgot what her name was. I'm looking it up really quick. I just feel really bad because it was one character. I'd like, and sometimes when there's brand new characters in a movie, sometimes I do forget who the characters are or like some of the names of them. So as Ruth. So she was great as well. Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley was fantastic. He was amazing. To me, him, Danny Ramirez, and of course, Giancarlo Esposito, which he is one of my all-time favorite actors too. After seeing him in The Mandalorian and seeing him in other franchises, I think that he is a very convincing villain actor, as well as a convincing actor that just breaks the mold out of other different actors. And what I mean is that he knows how to play a hero and he knows how to play a villain so well that if he was to go either way, it's totally believable. Him as Seth Volker, aka Sidewinder, he was fantastic. He was just so great. And I felt like Tim Blake Nelson as the leader really, really hit it home. He really did an incredible job on being this villainous character that we have not seen for years. Like about 16, 17 years. And the fact that this happened was just wow. I'm happy about it. I really am happy about it because he knew what he was getting himself into when being immersed with brand new characters and a big time jump. And he did it. He really, really did it. And I absolutely felt like he made a great comeback. And I feel like it goes also with Giancarlo Esposito's character as this is his debut. This was awesome. I just feel bad about the rewrites and the reshoots. They cut out Rosa Salazar and they cut out Seth Rollins from them being members of the Serpent Society. I feel bad that they cut him out. I really wanted to see what that was, because I think that it would have been fun. Sure, I did kind of see where the reshoots took place and the rewrites took place. I saw it a little bit in this one, but you know what? It didn't really bother me as much as I was expecting for it to bother me. I felt like realistically, what took me away from the rewrites and from the plot being a little jumbled up, I will admit, what took it away from me was the intensity that I got from the movie. I felt like there was a good amount of tension, especially since it is technically a political thriller. I thought that they brought a good amount of tension to the stakes that were being elevated. I love the fact that they were connecting the MCU movies together and the shows. Them connecting themselves to Eternals, even though it was a brief connection, to the Falcon and Winter Soldier series, to the Incredible Hulk that I was very, very surprised that they touched up on. It's really amazing to me to see Harrison Ford, of all actors, referencing different events from, and doing character name drops like Bruce Banner, the Abomination, with adamantium, with vibranium. I was really, really impressed with Harrison Ford on how natural it felt. It made me think we should have gotten Harrison Ford as Ross. We should have. He would have been an awesome Ross from the beginning all to then. He would have been incredible. He would have been amazing, and I would have loved it. I would have absolutely loved it. William Hurt did an incredible job too, though, as playing Thunderbolt Ross for the previous MCU entries, but I would have loved to have seen Harrison Ford being cast as Thunderbolt Ross. And you know what? He really sold it for me. He really, really did. I think that he was a great addition to the MCU. I think that he really brought out so much that it just really made me anticipate it on seeing. Hopefully they have him for Thunderbolts. Hopefully they have him for Doomsday and for Secret Wars somehow. Because, Secret Wars and Doomsday, they're going to be the two biggest projects in this saga, for the multiverse saga. And I just want for everyone to get their fair shot and their fair chance. I feel like Harrison Ford having cameos in both of them would be incredible. And hopefully if the Russo brothers are watching, maybe you guys will get that idea and say, let's get Harrison Ford as a cameo. I mean, they are going to start filming in London in March for Doomsday. So why not? I really am excited. I really, really am excited just because of the fact that this movie brought so much sentimental value to me, especially because, again, I wanted this to be a movie that my grandma and I would have watched together, but unfortunately that didn't happen. And the Lord has everything under control. And it was funny because as I was watching the movie and I was watching the seats move and we felt the moving, we felt the jolts, we felt like everything. And, we saw the smoke effects, the lightning effects, the back poking from the chairs. I honestly felt like, I thought I saw my grandma, watching this movie, but like in the other empty seats. And it was such a sweet thing because, again, that's also kind of another reason why I've been trying to get these videos out, is because I want to be able to preserve her legacy and the memory of her. And I just also want to be able to feel like she's still here despite her not being so. And I just want to feel like if I have that part of my life again, and then talking about her makes me feel like I got that part of my life again. And she would always tell me on how much Harrison Ford was her favorite actor, and he ended up becoming my favorite actor as well at age 8. For me, it was age 8 when I watched Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I almost said Last Crusade, but at that time I was probably, I think, 13 or 14 when I saw that one. But at age 8, I was watching Raiders of the Lost Ark. And that was my first movie I ever saw with Harrison Ford. And, I didn't see Star Wars, I didn't see Star Wars: A New Hope or Return of the Jedi or Empire Strikes Back until I was about 11 or 12. But Indiana Jones was something I really wanted to watch because at that time, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was being released. And, seeing Harrison Ford, it was just such an incredible thing because I remember my grandma told me that she used to watch Indiana Jones, and then she was younger, and me wanting to see it, I was like, you know what, I got to see this, and I did, and it blew my mind on how much of an experience it was, and then I ended up becoming a huge fan of Harrison, and I really wish I would have went to the premiere over at LA, but I didn't get that chance. I really wish I would have, but hopefully, maybe Marvel might see this and let me just give a little bit of a story of how my grandma's other favorite actor at the time was Pedro Pascal. And I know that he's going to be Mr. Fantastic in the upcoming Fantastic Four First Steps movie. And from that, it was, when they announced that he was going to be playing Mr. Fantastic, and Fantastic Four was my first Marvel movie that I've ever seen as a kid. At 7 years old, I saw Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, and I had overprotective family to the point that when I was, at the time, there were no movies that were PG at the time that they would have wanted me to watch, or they were allowed for me to watch. It was all PG-13 and R-rated movies. So Fantastic Four was the only one, so we went to see it, and we ended up enjoying ourselves. And then fast forward 20 years later, or 18 years later, we're going to get a new one, and, I can't wait to see Pedro Pascal and Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Evan Moss-Backrack as the Fantastic Four. I can't wait to see it. And hopefully maybe Marvel might see this and say, hey, let's send you over to the premiere of Fantastic Four First Steps. It'll be a fun, fantastic time, pun intended. And hopefully I can be at 500 subscribers, maybe even more. Maybe close to 600, 700 subscribers. Maybe a little bit more. Marvel, hopefully you might be able to see this. Hopefully. And hopefully you can make my dreams come true, and sending my friends and I and my mom and I go to the Fantastic Four premiere. That would be amazing. I hope that you guys can. I think it would be such an incredible opportunity, and I would love to get to meet the main cast. I think that they're all incredible from what I've seen, and hopefully we can get that chance. So if you are watching, please keep this in mind. But, circling back to Captain America, Brave New World, I felt like it was a movie that it did have its moments where you felt like there were instances where they did some editing with the new reshoots and the story was a little different. But I honestly feel this movie had too much hate by critics. It was overly hated. And I feel like once they started connecting the main story to what it ended up becoming, it felt like going from one story to the other, transitioning between the two. And you know what? I think it worked. I actually believe that it did. Because realistically, in politics and in life, when you go from one issue, it leads up to a bigger issue, and it just starts to seemingly transition from one subject to another. And I like the fact that there were callbacks to Ross's tendency to get more angry than expected. I liked the twist that they had with the leader. I liked the fact that they actually had a storyline where I felt like I was at the edge of my seat. Literally, because I did not want the poking mechanisms in the chair to poke me in the back. But I also was feeling like I was on the edge, because I wanted to know more on what the main idea and a motive of the leader was. And, he realistically made me feel like this whole entire story was just, perfectly well done. It was perfectly well executed. And yeah, it's far from perfect. But it did have a couple of flaws. I mean, the green screen, we kind of could tell. My friends and I were kind of joking about it. But we also had to remember that, you couldn't really have a destroyed street or even props of a destroyed street for so long, especially if they were doing reshoots and everything. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really care about the green screen problems. I didn't care about the CGI. I thought the CGI was great, especially with Ross becoming Red Hulk. I thought it was great with the action scenes, with the fighting, the flight scenes during the Sea War that was happening. I thought it was incredible. I felt like they were inspired by Top Gun Maverick in a lot of ways, and I thought that they did a great job with what was happening. I really felt like they did an incredible job with the flight sequences, the 4DX chairs syncing up with the action. They did a great job. And even in the small tense moments, they had some movement. They had a lot of water being sprayed at us. Surprisingly for this one, a lot of air being shot at us. This was such a fun experience, especially because it was a 3D 4DX experience. My friends and I decided we're going to do this for every single Marvel movie, and hopefully we can get to do this for DC movies like Superman, for Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, and hopefully any of these other different ones. I would love to see if we can get to do so, but I know tickets for these are expensive, so hopefully we'll get to do this again for Thunderbolts. And I think we decided that we're going to do it for Thunderbolts. So I'll give you my review on Thunderbolts as well from 4DX to 3D if they give it as a 3D format. And it's funny because of how when we saw the trailer for Fantastic Four, First Steps, and Thunderbolts, they had the trailer formatted in a 4DX style. And we felt it, during it. And you know what? They pulled it off so well that I'm so glad on how this happened. I really am glad. This experience was fun. It was exciting. It made me want to do this again. Because I went to go see Attack on Titan, the final battle in 4DX. So yeah, I had to binge watch that anime within a week. And my honest opinion about it, not for me, I wouldn't watch it again. Realistically, I really would not watch it again. I just wanted a 4D experience because I saw, an anime movie in 4DX. Let me try it. Not for me, just realistically speaking. But I absolutely loved this movie in 4DX, and I feel like I would go see more 4DX movies. Yeah, I know the tickets are a little bit expensive for 4DX, but the experience, though, when you watch it, it's totally worth it. It does not disappoint. Personally, it does not disappoint, and I think that it makes up for so much. Especially, you feel like you're in the movie. You feel like the experience is being brought to you. You feel like this is the added thing that you need. And, sometimes that could be a good thing to people. That could also be a bad thing to people. But in a case like this, I feel like it was a little bit smaller in scale compared to Civil War in some ways. A little smaller than Winter Soldier in some ways, but a little bit in between Winter Soldier and Civil War. I feel like there were good callbacks to the previous MCU entries. I like the fact that the script explained different events from the shows, in case if there were those who were not watching the shows simultaneously with the movies, and I like that they did that, and I like that they touched up on that. So, honestly, again, I loved Captain America: Brave New World. I think the critics are totally wrong for this one. I think that this is one of my all-time favorites out of the Multiverse Saga. All-time favorite of Multiverse Saga so far is definitely going to be Spider-Man: No Way Home. That and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever as a tie. I feel like Deadpool and Wolverine is a second to me. In some way. But if I'm going to rank out of the Phase 5 movies so far, you might not like my ratings or my you might not like where I'm going to be with my rankings for this, but I'm going to let you know. To me, I actually liked Captain America: Brave New World more than Deadpool and Wolverine. Reason why is because, first of all, I'm a Harrison Ford fan. I'm biased toward that. So I really love the guy. His movies helped me during some of my more struggling moments in life. So I give Harrison Ford movies a lot more credit than other people would. And, he's just one of those actors that, even if he was in a movie that was so-called terrible to people, he does an incredible job in everything that he does. So I can't see him being at a low point. To me, it's going to be Captain America: Brave New World at number 1. I'm going to put Deadpool and Wolverine at second place. I'm going to put Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 in third place. I'm putting the Marvels in fourth place, and I'm going to be putting Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania last. And it's not that I don't like it. I loved Quantumania, but what made me love the Marvels more was the fact that it felt like an older 2000s Marvel movie. Even though it was short, I felt like I had a fun time with it because it felt like it. It had a little bit of the choppiness and a little bit of like that quicker pace that old-fashioned Marvel movies like Fantastic Four, like X-Men, like they had. And that's what I loved about it. And I think that if they kept the right tone for it, I think I would put Guardians of the Galaxy in the middle. You know what? Actually, you know what? I'm putting Guardians of the Galaxy second and Deadpool and Wolverine third. And I'm going to do that switch because Deadpool and Wolverine was great and I loved it. But the thing is that I really wish that I would have watched other MCU movies or older Marvel movies like Blade, like the Blade trilogy, the Daredevil movies, Elektra, and some of these other different ones I didn't see. I really wish that I would have watched that first before I ended up watching Deadpool and Wolverine. But I love Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 more because it was a great send-off for the team, for the main team. And I love Chris Pratt as an actor. I love the fact that, they gave him a great role for this one. And even though that it was not centered around him, it was around Rocket. That's what made me love it even more, was because of Rocket. And because of his story was just so traumatic, but so relatable in so many ways to so many people. In terms of the story of abuse and then having to be able to escape abuse and fully accepting that even though that he was a subjected experiment, he became a hero. And Rocket is an inspiration to so many people who have gone through abuse, and especially those who advocate against animal cruelty. And for me, Captain America Brave New World is my number one because of sentimental reasons. Because my grandma's favorite superhero was Captain America, which elevated my experience. This was my 4DX 3D experience. That is the first time I did it for a Marvel movie, and I feel like it elevated it so much that it made me love it even more. I'm a Harrison Ford fan. I'm a Captain America fan. I'm an Anthony Mackie fan. I'm a Sam Wilson fan. And it just and I love the fact that they just made a spiritual sequel to the Incredible Hulk movie that I was hoping that they were going to make. And I cannot wait to see Thunderbolts. And I will give you, I want to do like a phase 5, a personal like tier list of everything. Every single time that a new project gets released, I want to do a tier list for every single one of them. So I will do that soon. For phase 5 movies, I think I've already done it here, but I'm going to do it again as a bigger explanation in another video. And I'll do it for the shows as well. But I'll just, this is what I have so far. But I'm going to work on the tier list. I'm going to work on everything. And then I'm going to explain to you guys my reasons. But, honestly, I had a lot to talk about with this one. And you know what? Despite the hate, again, great movie. I definitely recommend it. I definitely recommend it if you're a thriller fan. If you are a fan of, if you're a fan of political thrillers, if you are a fan of action movies, I definitely recommend this one. I think it's a fun experience. If you go see it in 4DX 3D, you will not be disappointed. I guarantee you that. The tickets are a little pricey, but the experience is worth it if you have not done it. And I definitely recommend it for this one. But yeah, I absolutely loved it. And I honestly would say for Marvel movies at this point, I would rather listen to the audience score than with critics. So just giving you a heads up. So let me just put that at ease. But then again, I really would not look at any critics scores whatsoever, whether it's an audience score or critic score, just because I'd rather go in forming my own opinion instead of having to feel like if I'm going to be judging my review based off of them. So just keep an open mind, all right? Just keep an open mind, and I guarantee you that it's going to be worth it if you go in with an open mind and have no expectations of what this movie is going to be and just be plain curious about it. that's what I did. I had an unbiased opinion about it. I had more of a biased opinion about because I love Harrison Ford, I love Captain America, and I love Marvel. I will never stop loving the MCU, even as at its so-called bad state that it's in. I absolutely love it, and I will not regret those words. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching my non-spoiler review for Marvel Studios' Captain America: Brave New World. If you guys want to see this movie, it's in theaters right now. This is again, great movie. I personally give it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, personally. I mean, it only got knocked down a little just because... It only just got knocked down just a tiny bit. Just because I feel like there were some stupid decisions that were made, but then again, it's not always going to be perfect. But it doesn't really overshadow a lot of it. You know what? I'll give the credit. 4.9 out of 5. Let's just do that to make it better. But thank you guys again for watching. If you guys want to see any more videos like this, then please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're almost there at 300 subscribers, and that special is coming up soon, so hopefully we can get there quick. If you guys want to follow me at any of my social media, I have Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, aka X, and my Discord on my Discord server, which those links will be in the description below. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you all. Stay safe, and I will see you all in the next videos. Bye, guys.